Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jordan Cameron back with another video. Nope, we got a live stream today. What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone's doing good out there. Saturday live stream. It's been long overdue. What's up, everybody? We've been making the videos, 3 or 4 videos a week, but I think it's time that we get back to at least a few live streams a week. So hope everyone's doing good out there. We got Bitcoin in the mid 90Ks. We got some things to talk about today, fellas, because everything that we've been talking about in the videos over the last few months is starting to play out. So we've got a lot to talk about today. We'll let all the homies come in. It's been long overdue. It's good to see everyone in the chat. Boring crypto market over the last few weeks. Not last few weeks. Really the last 2 or 3 months. It was a good time to decompress. It was a good time to just kind of sit back and let the market do what it needs to do. And we got Bitcoin holding the 50 moving average bands, which if you've been following the channel, that's kind of what we've been waiting for Bitcoin to hold and finally getting a move up off the 50 moving average band. So let's get it, man. Steven, Bjorn, G-Money, Gavin, Tom. What's up, everybody? Yeah, we're going no face. No face for now. I got a massive pimple on my nose. So I can't show you guys the face because it's just a massive pimple that I need to pop first before I show the face. Good to see everyone, though. It's good to see everyone, man. Happy Saturday. It's the weekend. So we'll hop on for a live stream before we start the weekend festivities over here, man. What's everyone think about the markets right now? Let me know in the chat before we jump on in. I see the chat. Let's go. Neil. Hoffs. There he is. What's up, buddy? Jackson, Steven, Hosen Sauce, Josh Tag. What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? I had a facelift. Felipe, what's up, man? Automatic Beats. No one's judging my pimple, said Tom K. I think you guys are already judging the pimple. What's up, Felipe? All right. Everyone's kind of getting in here, so let's not waste any time. And, if you guys have been watching the videos, you kind of know what I'm kind of looking towards. And I think it's getting started, man. Joey, give us some hopium for Crow. Crow signed with Trump Media. Should be good for Crow. Yeah, man, as soon as we get this market like the altcoin starting to move up, which I do think is going to come once Bitcoin starts to get into price discovery here, Crow should be one of them that runs. Nothing's really changed there. It's kind of just been sitting back and adding to, dollar cost averaging down if you've been able to. If not, kind of just chilling and relaxing until we get Bitcoin moving. Anyways, let's not waste any time because I'm going to probably stay on for like 45 minutes to an hour today. So we can't waste too much time, man. We got too much to talk about here on the live. All right. So anyways, let's talk. So if you've been following the channel, back in late February, Bitcoin came down and tested the 50 moving average band. And I've been very adamant, and I'm just kind of been patient and sitting back and just making videos because there really hasn't been much to talk about. We remain a bull unless Bitcoin gets a weekly close below the 50 moving average band, right? If you look at it, every bull market in the past, as sort of Bitcoin comes back down and tests the 50 moving average band, unless it gets a weekly close below, you've been better to be a bull, right? And every single time that Bitcoin comes down and tests this 50 moving average band, there's always some sort of bearish narrative, right? Bearish narrative here, some bearish narrative here, bearish narrative here. But every single time, if you've gotten bearish at the 50 moving average bands, you sort of been in the wrong camp, right? So once again, Bitcoin comes down and for 2 months, kind of just waddles above the 50 moving average bands. But it is held, and now we got Bitcoin starting to move up off the 50 moving average bands, which is our first step of what we kind of been looking at, which is, if you've been following the live streams, man, I got this crazy theory right now, and it's not really crazy. I just think it's based off of the charts that we're about to see the biggest blow off top in crypto history, possibly up to the 10 trillion point. It doesn't have to get there. It could stop before, and I would talk about dollar cost averaging out as everyone starts to get massively pumped. Over the course of the next few months, we'll talk about, dollar cost averaging out of the market, not just waiting for a level. But, obviously getting Bitcoin bouncing out the 50 moving average band is sort of the first step to getting total market cap to come up and making new highs. So first step, Bitcoin held, check off, let's go. And we got a lot, dude. We got so much to talk about today, man. Well, it's a lot of the same stuff we've been talking about in the videos, but you know, obviously in the short term, I'm not going to talk too much about short-term charts today because I don't really care about the short term, to be quite honest. I don't really care. I'm not a day trader, but obviously right here, Bitcoin's coming up into the first resistance, which is this low 90K level. And yeah, I probably wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin either gets a little pullback here in the short term or kind of just sits here for a few days or maybe a week or two before we get the next impulse up to the highs. But anyways, that's what we got. Not going to too much about short term. We are at resistance, but I eventually think Bitcoin breaks through here and comes up into makes new highs. But anyways, so we are getting the bounce. Total market cap following, also bouncing off the 50 moving average. Surprise, surprise, just as it did here. Just as it did right here. And once again, we actually got one little weekly close below, came back above, and we're bouncing off the 50 moving average. Surprise, surprise. But if you haven't been watching the channel and you haven't been watching the videos, I do recommend you do. What I'm expecting over the next few months is the biggest move in crypto history market cap wise, not percentage wise, right? Obviously, coins are too big to get the percentages that we did in like 2017 or 2021, obviously. But market cap wise, I do think we see the biggest move that we've ever seen in crypto, possibly up to 10 trillion. And I'll explain why. I'll explain why to all the live stream people here, if you guys have been watching the videos. Yeah, my face isn't in here, guys, because like I said, I have a giant pimple on my nose. I'm actually being serious. You might think I'm kidding, but I have a giant pimple on my nose and I can't show you my face just yet. Okay, we'll do a pimple. Maybe we'll do a pimple reveal on the next stream. Okay, but right now we're faceless. All right, we are wearing a mask, and we will continue to wear the mask until this pimple goes away from the nose. All right, but yeah. So my theory is, okay, now that we got Bitcoin bouncing, now people are like getting over the tariff shit, right? The tariff stuff, and everyone's kind of super scared down here for like 2 months because of tariffs, right? Good crypto news, not pumping price, right? Why, right? We got Trump winning, right? We got all this positive crypto stuff, but price is not going up. Why, man? We must be bearish, right? And right, obviously a lot of people got out of the market down here, and now we're starting to move up, but ultimately, why I think that we're about to see this move, it's not just because that's just how I feel, right? There's some like meaning to this, okay? And we'll kind of go through it. Pop on the stream. Imagine I pop it and the white stuff just goes all over the camera and it just like slides down. That would be kind of funny, actually. But if we kind of look at just kind of look at the previous bull market, guys. If we actually take the 2017 top to the 2018 low, we just kind of get rid of this 618 Fibonacci. You can see that we went up to the 4236 Fibonacci last bull cycle, almost to the exact dot, right? 2.93 trillion. That was the top of total market cap in the last cycle, right? So the way I'm looking at it is if we just do the same thing, and it's not guaranteed we do the same thing, obviously, right? Nothing's guaranteed in the market. If we actually take the highs of 2021 to the FTX lows, okay, that gets us up to about 10.2 trillion or 10.3 trillion. If you want to be exact, I just didn't do it exactly, but you get the point. And I think it's kind of funny because that 10 trillion point comes also perfectly if you kind of connect the 2017 top to the 2021 top to this 2021 top, right? 3 touch points. It kind of comes almost perfectly right to there. And my theory is that though, like, it's not like we don't have to come to this 10 trillion point, guys. But would it absolutely surprise me if we did see this absolute euphoria phase before we get the biggest crash in crypto history, which I do think is coming. And the higher that this move eventually goes, and the more excited people get, and I'm expecting at Thanksgiving this year in about 6 months, my uncle and my cousin are going to be asking about crypto again, And I'm going to be very, very nervous at that time. But, besides the point, I'm not looking forward, kind of looking at that level. And why I think that's also coming, and it's not just the total market cap chart, that will get everyone excited. Everyone will think crypto will change the world. Something will happen is my guess. There'll be some narrative and a bunch of bullish stuff that's happening, as this move comes up. So much bullish news, so much bullish things that are happening. And that's actually probably when you want to be bearish, is when all these bullish things start happening. It's probably when you want to start selling, guys. Right now, obviously, there's not that much bullish stuff. It's mostly been bearish stuff over the last few months. And, conversely, you kind of always want to be buying when there's bearish stuff going on. It kind of always seems to work that way, is whenever there's bearish stuff going on, it's kind of a good time to buy at least Bitcoin or stocks, and maybe some altcoins that you really, really like. But anyways, now that we start seeing the move up, I do think we're going to see this euphoria phase back up to the top, kind of get everyone excited, get everyone sucked into the market, and kind of like it's going to be similar to the tech bubble where, though tech, like the internet shit, was like eventually was groundbreaking, and eventually everyone started to use the internet, and the internet was huge. It wasn't until after you got a massive bubble pop until you actually started to see that with like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, all those massive companies. I think it's going to be similar to the crypto market where everyone's going to get sucked in, and there's going to be actually a lot of bullish stuff that happens. But it won't be until there's this bubble pop that kind of takes all the crappy stuff to zero. Memes, useless coins, which is probably 99% of the coins in crypto. They all go to zero before the actual good stuff actually goes on a true bull run. Probably later in this decade is my guess. But anyways, besides the point, I do think you get this move up here. And, and I'll show you guys why in the charts, right? Obviously, like, you can kind of feel it right now as Bitcoin kind of comes up and climbs the wall of worry. I think not a lot of outsiders think that a move is possible to the upside now because there's just so much bearish stuff on the macro. Everyone's talking recession. Everyone's talking about tariffs, right? What would it be crazy just to see prices go up and just absolutely shock everyone that we've seen multiple times in this bull market happen. But anyways, we'll talk about why in the charts, right? Why in the charts that this could happen too. Welcome everyone. It's good to see everyone who's coming in now. It's good to see everyone in the chat. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody in the chat. It's good to see everyone after the last few months. We'll be doing probably 1 to 2 live streams a week. I'm going to continue the videos because honestly, I like the videos. It kind of helps me just stay in the right mindset in the market, not doing live streams every single day. Anyways. Who the frick is texting me right now? Yo, Kip. When Little Jordans? Oh, dude. When Little Jordans. Man. Hopefully soon, dude. Hopefully soon, man. Hopefully, we're talking, next year, 2027. Hopefully soon, man. We'll see. We'll see. It's all I want in life, dude. The special things in life. The little things in life. Anyways, let's talk about why in the chart, right? So why in the chart? Could we see something like that? This is my favorite chart right now. If you guys have been following the videos, this is stablecoin dominance. Okay, and this is what gets me thinking that something like this is possible. So if you just look at 2023 and 2024, this has just been in a range. And if you know stablecoin dominance, it's just inversely correlated to the crypto market. So if this is going down, crypto is going up. If this is going up, crypto is going down, right? So you can see since January, this was going up, obviously. Came right back into the range highs. And if you've been watching the video, that's where we were looking at the crypto market getting a turn because stablecoin dominance was back at this major resistance right here, right? And it happened to be at the same time, we had a bunch of different things going on, right? We had Bitcoin at the 50 moving average band, which we know has been support this whole bull market. And we also had, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, global liquidity, which everyone and their mother's obviously talking about now. We've been talking about this for a long time on the channel, but global liquidity has been absolutely skyrocketing over the last 2 to 3 months. And we know that Bitcoin follows it, right? So we had a combination of Bitcoin here at support, global liquidity moving up, stablecoin dominance at resistance. So we were looking at this and saying, okay, we expect this to reject. And you can see that we got a massive rejection there. And what was the signal to say in the short term that the move was starting? Because we thought, okay, the move is going to start soon. We're not going to try to guess when, but when could this move actually start? Well, we were looking at this simple trend line on stablecoin dominance, and we said, okay, as soon as this starts to break, it's go time. It is go time, and obviously we had this break. This break here obviously has shot Bitcoin up, approximately already about 30%. And I think this is just the start of the move. Obviously, we can get a pullback in the short term. We're at resistance, right? A monkey could tell you that Bitcoin's at resistance now, okay? But, we're looking high time frame. We're not talking short term here. I don't really care about the short term, like I said. So Bitcoin, this breaks down, Bitcoin shoots up. And what we're looking at, simply, and I think this is so simple, is what we're looking at here is just simply this to eventually make its way all the way back down to this range low. Okay? Why? Because we're just in a range. Highs to lows, highs to lows, highs, and we're expecting the lows again. Right? We're expecting the lows. So if we're just going to look at this in a simple way, we say, okay, this moves back down to range lows, then we're expecting total market cap to get a push up. Okay. Expecting total market cap to get a push up. My expectation, and once again, if you've been following the videos, we've been talking about this non-freaking stop. All right. My expectation here on this beautiful Saturday, it's actually kind of a crappy Saturday over here. It's raining out, which is kind of shitty. It's kind of a shitty day. It's okay though. Dude, it's been kind of crappy so far this spring. This has been a crappy spring. It's either been raining or it's been 30 degrees out. It's been crappy spring, man. It's been no spring. Summer better be great. I'm trying to go kayaking, hiking almost every single day. But, haven't been lucky this spring with weather. But anyways, back to the chart because we're getting carried away here. We don't got that much time. Yo, Elliot. What's up, man? Yeah, we're back. We're back right now. General said, I am monkey. You are a monkey, man. You're a monkey. Anyways, we're getting carried away again. My expectation is that this stablecoin dominance move down like this, back down to range lows, will actually come and make new lows. And this is just forming a giant Wyckoff accumulation. So this move down on stablecoin dominance, my guess is it gets down to at least the range lows at 5%, probably I think like 3.5 to 4%, which this is a massive move down on stablecoin dominance. My guess is that move is going to be the catalyst that gets total market cap pushing up. Right? Very simple, right? We're looking at the charts and we're not just saying this based on how we feel. We're looking at the charts and saying, okay, if this goes down because it's in a range, then obviously Bitcoin goes up and total market cap goes up, right? Simple shit. Simple stuff. But what comes after that move down, I think, is a massive move up. And basically the .com bubble 2.0 crash. So I'm not a perma bull, guys. I may be bullish right now, but I think what comes after this move is absolute devastation, just based on what I'm seeing on the charts and based on like what I see in real life. But it is what it is. Okay. Well, we can talk about that down the line. But okay, so we have this move down. Why could this move down happen on stablecoin dominance? Well, guys, I mean, this is also really not too much rocket science, but though everyone kind of keeps dismissing this, but Bitcoin just follows the amount of money that gets put into markets. That's it. So if central banks around the world inject liquidity into markets, Bitcoin follows. And it's been doing it since really this whole bull, right? Especially lately, all right? Bitcoin finds a low, right? Oh, we should say global liquidity finds a low. Bitcoin finds a low 2 to 3 months later. Global liquidity moves up. Bitcoin moves up 2 to 3 months later. Global liquidity tops. right? Which is the yellow line, global liquidity tops, Bitcoin tops, global liquidity moves down, Bitcoin moves down. Global liquidity bottoms, starts to move up, Bitcoin bottoms, starts to move up. Global liquidity tops, Bitcoin tops, global liquidity moves down, Bitcoin moves down. Global liquidity bottoms, Bitcoin bottoms, global liquidity moves up. Oh, shocker. What do we have now? Bitcoin 2 to 3 months later starts to move up. It's a shocker, right? It's almost like what's worked every single time is working again. It's a complete shock. It's honestly unreal how this is playing out again. And I'm being a little sarcastic. If you cannot understand the sarcasm, and we can go back and further in time and look at this too, guys. I mean, the FTX lows were the exact lows of global liquidity in the bear market. FTX lows was the exact bottom on the friggin' Bitcoin chart. It's not like, really not rocket science, man. Like, this has worked for the past 4 years. Why are we just going to say it's not going to work now? Okay, especially after you have the biggest fear reading. If you look at like stock market stuff, the stock market sentiment readings, it was the most fear in the history of the stock market, right when Bitcoin was here. I mean, it's just kind of funny, but yeah. So you kind of put this all together. And this is why I have this thesis, and it's not just, off my back pocket. It's not just because of one thing. It's a confluence of different things, right? Global liquidity moving up. We expect Bitcoin to follow. Stablecoin dominance hit resistance in a range. We're expecting stablecoin dominance to come back down to the bottom of the range. Bitcoin hit exactly at the 50 moving average band where it got bounces in the past and saw at least 2X's from that point in each one of these previous moves. And total market cap at the 50 moving average, which has gotten a bounce in the previous 3 consolidations in this bull market, right? Combine that with the fact with massive bearish sentiment, and literally in the history of bearish sentiment, and I just think you have the recipe for a euphoria phase coming here, right? Now we got everyone talking about, recession, right? Inflation's back down to 2.5%. This is global liquidity without even the Fed injecting any money into the markets. Imagine the US Fed starts injecting money into the markets too, because everyone, we got inflation back down to 2.5%, all this stuff. I just think it's like the perfect storm forming here for a euphoria phase that catches everyone off guard, because just 1 to 2 weeks ago, everyone was scared about tariffs. I think it's the perfect recipe, but obviously time will tell. Nothing's guaranteed. How are we wrong? I'll be the first one. I'll tell you right now, my fellas. Okay, I'll be the first one to tell you. I won't be the first one to show you my pimple on my nose, but I'll be the first one to tell you I was wrong, and I'm flipping into a bear if Bitcoin comes and breaks these 50 moving averages. If Bitcoin just dumps at any point, comes down, weekly closes below the 50 moving average bands, I will flip into a bear 100%, and I will tell you I was wrong. This is going into a bear market. But for now, we held once, we held twice, we held 3 times, and we bounced. So it's kind of where I'm at. Just sitting here and kind of waiting for this move to happen now, which I do think is coming. Okay, well, it already started, in my opinion, but it is what it is. But yeah, so that's really it. I'm not going to talk too much about alts, just because I think they're going to move together, and they probably won't really start pumping until Bitcoin gets a little bit higher. You need Bitcoin to move first. You need everyone to start believing, getting Bitcoin to get the altcoin moves. So probably expect altcoins for the most part. All right, there's been some that have moved already. CRV is already up 2x from the lows. SWE's already up 2x from the lows. You got a bunch of coins already up, maybe 2 to 3x off the lows. Fartcoin. I'm not going to talk about too much about altcoins, because I think they're going to move together. But if you kind of look at this previous run, when did altcoins start to move here? It really wasn't until Bitcoin got to right here, right? Almost back to the highs. And then that's when you started to have XRP, Cardano, Chainlink, CRV, HBAR, all those coins started to pump when Bitcoin got right back right into this zone right there. So my guess is it's probably going to be mostly Bitcoin until Bitcoin gets back somewhere near the highs, and people are a little bit more confident about the market, right? So let's see, all right? Probably a little bit longer on alts is my guess until Bitcoin gets somewhere up here. But, you know, touche, it is what it is. We saw what happens. Obviously, Bitcoin led at first. Bitcoin got to the highs. Everyone's like, oh my God, Bitcoin has broken the trend line. You guys know the trend line. You know the trend line back here. And then everyone started to pile into all these altcoins. So my guess is once we get back somewhere near the highs, like I said, that's when you start seeing the altcoins really start to move. And that's when you really start seeing total market cap really start to freaking move. All right. So that's kind of it. If you haven't been watching the videos, there's kind of the synopsis of why I think we're about to see the biggest pump market cap wise in crypto history, not percentage wise, right? Don't be expecting Bitcoin to go to 1 million and ETH to go to 30K, right? Market cap wise, before the biggest dump market cap wise, and maybe percentage wise, depending on what happens here. All right. So that's that. We're like 30 minutes into the stream. We'll jump on into the chat and we'll talk about some stuff in the chat and kind of go from there, man. All right. Let me get rid of these. Let's see what everyone's saying in the chat. What's up, Tony? What's up, Tony? Jets, what's up, man? He said, I hope everyone bought the dip, ETH, Sol, etc. in great buy zones. Yeah, dude, the last 2 to 3 months have been fantastic places to DCA down, right? If you kind of bought some coins high, it was a great opportunity to DCA. Even Bitcoin at the 50 moving average, which Bitcoin, in my opinion, should always be your biggest holding, as we know, as we talked about multiple times. But plenty of stuff. It was great. If you bought some coins high by accident up here, right? Which you shouldn't do. Don't buy after pumps, guys. Buy when no one wants to on dips. It was a great opportunity to DCA down on some stuff. So if we do see Bitcoin pull back here, which I don't know, man. Everyone's kind of talking about Bitcoin pulling back now. It is that resistance. I get it. But if we do see Bitcoin pull back and you got altcoins pulling back again, it's probably not a bad time to start to add to some of those. If you get a pullback on Bitcoin, which is not guaranteed, man, because everyone's kind of talking about a pullback. But if you kind of look at when Bitcoin's broken out in the past, like if you think this is going to be the breakout, which I do think it will, because I think Bitcoin's just going to follow global liquidity. If you think this is going to be the breakout, if you kind of look at how Bitcoin's behaved on all the breakouts, like right here, there was no pullback, dude. Bitcoin literally got consolidated sideways. Once it started to move on the weekly, it was just straight up until it hit the peak, right? If you look right here, I guess you had one little week of a pullback here. But for the most part, once you kind of hit a low or a higher low, it was kind of just straight up on the weekly. Like there was no major pullbacks in there. So I guess here is the most logical level, right? If there's ever a level where it's logical for us to come down and make a higher low before coming up, right? Something like this. All right, maybe you come down, retest before kind of coming up again. On this little pullback, that's probably not a bad time to DCA on some stuff if you have the opportunity to. But it's not a guarantee that you do get that. So we'll see, kind of see what happens, man. A lot of people talking about a pullback right here. So it kind of seems like the consensus move that Bitcoin will pull back from this level. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely agree. 100%. We had an exact 30% Bitcoin pullback. Yeah, dude, Hoffs, I think all of them have been 30% pullback. 31%, 32%. Actually, this one was 21%. What was this one? 23%. Yeah, this pullback was 30. This pullback was 30. So it seems like Bitcoin loves the 30% pullbacks. It really likes the 30% pullbacks. 90K last pullback and then max pain, no pullbacks. I know that's usually a joke, like max pain, no pullbacks. That's usually a joke. And I don't really like that saying because max pain is always down. It really is. Max pain is never up. But I actually would say that right now, not max pain, but there would be a lot of pain if price just shot up because you guys couldn't see it. I mean, I'm not going to show you guys the survey for the stock market. You guys have probably seen other people, talk about this in different channels or whatever, maybe on Twitter or something. Twitter, not Twitter, X. I hate the name X. They should change it back to Twitter. But anyways, right in here, and if you just kind of get rid of this, and we go over here, in the stock market, which is a massive pullback on the stock market. I think the sign that Bitcoin was going to bounce too. Also, if you guys didn't notice, dude, stocks absolutely cratered because of the tariff stuff. Absolutely cratered. And during this whole dump right here, Bitcoin didn't even go down. It actually went up, right? From late March to now, right? I mean, Bitcoin has significantly outperformed the stock market through a massive fear period. But right in here was the biggest fear in stock market history based on surveys, even bigger than 2022 and even bigger than the COVID crash. More people were fearful here, and I think it's hilarious. I didn't understand it. I really didn't. I really didn't, but more people were fearful here than the COVID crash low. Like, it's insane, man. I didn't understand it. I didn't think it was that scary. I really didn't, but a lot of people did, I guess. But man, I think that was the sign, man. We got max amount of people bearish at the lows. Bitcoin kind of just holding. I think a lot of people and a lot of smart money was buying Bitcoin in here during the massive fear, and dumb money was selling here during massive fear. And I'm not a big fan of max pain is up, but I do think there would be a lot of pain if there was no pullback here. And Bitcoin just ripped through this first resistance that it's at, and it just ripped. It just ripped. I do think there would be a lot of pain because of that, because I think a lot of people got tricked because of the tariff stuff in here. A lot of people got tricked. And it's very obvious that a lot of people got tricked in there. So I do think there would be a lot of pain if there was just an upside move that didn't give you any type of entry and instead just kind of continued up. Because like we said, in the past, Bitcoin hasn't really given you, like after it kind of hits that final low and forms some type of W formation, it hasn't really given you an entry, man. I mean, you might get a little pullback like this, but after you form that double bottom, it's kind of just been up only. After you form the double bottom, right, will we get just up only? Double bottom was kind of up only. You get the point, but we'll kind of see. We will find out. We'll find out. I don't know. We'll find out. Loxeye, thank you, man. Thank you for coming in, dude. Thank you so much, Loxeye. Came with the 5 gifted memberships. What a stud. What a stud on this Saturday, man. It's a rainy Saturday, but he's spreading the good vibes. Who won? Blah, blah. Tristan. Hoffs won. I feel like Hoffs always wins. Spirit Channel got it. Spirit Channel always wins, too. Oh, man. It's good to see everyone in the chat, man. It's good to see the names in the chat. I was doing this for so long that I just kind of, got attached to the names in the chat. So it's weird to be away for so long. I think it was much needed now, though. I think when this market starts to pick back up, like seriously, man, I'm going to be so refreshed and just so full of energy, man. I'm so excited. So refreshed and so ready to crush whatever comes in this market, man. The way I'm just looking at the market right now, guys, is if we get this massive move up, It's just going to be a lot of fun, but we're going to be fearful, right? When others are greedy, we're going to be fearful, right? So obviously we kept our cool in here when everyone didn't keep their cool. We kept our cool, all right? So basically how we're looking at the market now is if we continue up, pullbacks are fine. Pullbacks are fine. If we continue up, we're going to be, just continuing to remind you guys to DCA out of the market. And basically, and the way I'm looking at it is just continuing to be a bull. And I'm sticking by my rule is I'm going to continue to be a bull until either one of two things happens. Either that fear and greed index gets to extreme greed. In that case, I think it's time to be fearful. If you start to see that extreme greed on the fear and greed index, that has historically been a massive place where you want to be fearful. That's number one. Or number two, maybe Bitcoin doesn't do what I think it's going to do, which is always possible for whatever reason. And Bitcoin actually starts to slide down. Any weekly close below the 50 moving average band, that's the invalidation. And that's just the simple way we're going to look at it. We're not going to overreact to any moves in the middle here because it can be up, down, all around, swirly and whatever. We're not going to overreact to any moves in here. We're just going to keep it simple. 50 moving average band break. We're expecting bear. Extreme greed on the fear and greed index. We get fearful. Okay. And we kind of go from there. That's just kind of the way I'm looking at it right now. It is what it is. All right. Back in the chat. I'm going to kind of be jumping up and down and all around. ETH wedding cake. Dude, I don't know, man. ETH is one of those things. I'm not going to make a prediction on ETH. It could go either way. Because I can see two things on ETH. Let's open up ETH real quick. I'm not going to make any predictions on ETH, guys. I'm just not. I have no clue what's going to happen with ETH. I don't know what's going to happen with individual coins. I really, really don't. I think the move I'm confident in is I'm confident in Bitcoin going higher. I'm confident in Bitcoin going higher. And I'm confident in total market cap going higher. But individual coins, I don't know. And I'm not going to sit here and make a prediction on ETH because everyone's always made a prediction on ETH. I have no idea what's going to happen with ETH. All right, because I can see it both ways. Everyone's going to say, all right, everyone's bearish on ETH, it's going to pump. But I also can see it as everyone's saying that everyone's bearish on ETH. All right? Everyone being in ETH because everyone's saying everyone's bearish on ETH. It's almost like a reverse thing. So I'm not going to make any predictions on ETH. I've talked about a few times where in order for ETH to move big in the past, you've almost had to have some type of macro double bottom, like over here in 2016 and 2017, before you had a massive rally. In 2018 and 2020, you almost made a double bottom in the COVID crash before a massive rally. So I don't know, man. I sit here and it's hard for me to think that ETH will come all the way back down to like 800, 900, 1,000. While also expecting Bitcoin and total market cap to go higher. Like it almost seems like that's not possible. But anything's really possible in this market, man. Everything is really impossible in this market. I'm not going to sit here and try to predict what everyone's doing, dude. I have no idea. FFP, Drew, where's your cam? We need to check if the golden pocket has been broken on the hairline. Dude, my hairline is much, much higher than last time you seen it, dude. I'm just getting old, man. I got gray hairs. I actually have some gray hairs now, which I'm actually happy about because I want to look more wise. I'm serious. So like I said, I'm not going to talk about too much ETH. I think the coins that, once again, I'm still more confident on is like, obviously, once again, we talked about this earlier. I don't really expect altcoins to massively move until Bitcoin's close to all-time highs. Very similar to what it did over here in October. We already talked about this. You can rewind. Probably a little bit more chop on altcoins while Bitcoin steals the show for a little bit. which probably means Bitcoin dominance goes a little bit higher. I know everyone hates that, but I just think it's probably what happens in the short term. But I do think when the altcoins do start to move, like right here, when Bitcoin broke all-time highs here, that's when, like I said, you had XRP do like a freaking 5x, ADA do a 5x, CRV do a 5x, Chainlink do a 5x. All these coins absolutely started to moon. I think when you start to get Bitcoin up here and start to break through the highs, I'm still confident, very, very confident in this, that the coins that will perform the best will be the American-made utility coins, right? The coins that pumped last time, right? XRP, Cardano, HBAR, CRV. I kind of already see CRV running. Chainlink, right? These are the coins that I think are going to be Crow. That the ones that ran big back in November, I think those are the ones that are going to run big again. And that's my bet. And I actually own all those coins that I just named. Those are all the coins that I own for altcoins, right? So I'm not going to make any predictions on individual altcoins. I just think that overall, I think the US-based utility coins will run the hardest. Because I think there's going to be some type of narrative where an altcoin gets used for something and everyone just starts piling money into the utility coins, trying to bet on which one will be used for something else. That's just my guess. So you're going to obviously get memes running, right? If there's a euphoria phase, memes are going to run. Right now, the popular one is Fartcoin. Sol will probably run because people love the memes. So Sol is another good one. Sol is also US-based, right? So Sol also probably does well. And that's why also, ETH might continue to struggle because the focus might be on utility coin, US-based utility coins. I don't really know though. That's just my guess. I'm not going to sit here and say that's guaranteed or whatever. I have no idea. But it is what it is. Anyways, it's a beautiful Saturday, guys. It's 10:42. It's almost time for me to call it on the first live stream back. It's good to see everyone in here. Let's zoom in on Bitcoin a little bit. Just consolidating on the weekend. The weekends have been slow lately, man. Very, very slow lately. I'm not going to zoom in. I'm not going to do any short-term TA, guys. We ain't going to do short-term TA. We're looking at the bigger picture here and focused on this. Focused on this. Not guaranteed. Don't bet the house on this. Have an invalidation. Mine's simply any break of 50 moving average band on Bitcoin. Have an invalidation. And just have a strategy to take profits if this does play out. All right? Don't wait for this. Don't wait for a certain level. And we'll go from there. Yo, Jackson Crawford, don't forget Algo. Algo was one of them that ran in November too. So anyone that ran hard in November, I think that's going to run hard again. Once Bitcoin gets close to all-time highs. Oh, could it be a higher low in Bitcoin? Yeah. I mean, right, dude, I'm not gonna do short-term TA, but if we want to zoom in a little bit, right, on the daily, obviously you can see, right, this order block right here, first big resistance on Bitcoin, very obvious place for a pullback. So if you do get a pullback here, right, I just think that's going to lead to higher. I mean, any pullback I expect to be a higher low. Where does it go? Maybe here, maybe down to 85K. Maybe it pulls all the way back down and tests and just makes a slightly higher low. Maybe it doesn't pull back and it just keeps going. That's why I'm not going to sit here and try to do this. I don't really know what's going to happen. I think a lot of people are looking at a pullback here. I think it's very common consensus that it makes sense for a pullback here, which it does. Just looking at the chart, yeah, it makes sense for a pullback, man. But any pullback, I think that's just a case. If you missed any of the moves down here, I think any pullback, that's your chance to sort of get into the market. If you didn't down here, if you were afraid of tariffs and stuff, I think that's your chance. But I know Bitcoin, and it can do one of two things. Like over here, you started to move up. Like I said, you did have that pullback, and then it was straight up. But Bitcoin also can do something like this, where, you know, it really starts that impulse, and everyone's expecting a pullback, right? Like, you guys remember this period right here. Everyone was expecting a pullback back down here, but it just kind of kept going up because everyone, you know, climbing the wall of worry. So who knows? It's like, who knows? I'm not a short-term. I am looking at the short term right now. Yeah. Resistance on Bitcoin could pull back, might not pull back. I don't really care. I don't really care, to be honest. But could go either way, fellas. So just don't be surprised if there is a pullback here. Would make sense on the chart, but also, you know, it's kind of a consensus view at the moment. Yo, JG. Thank you, man. Do you consider Trump useful idiot with trade wars to lie and enemies to dump dollars and go into Bitcoin? I don't know what Trump's play is, man. I'm not going to talk this because I don't know what Trump's plan is. I find it hard to believe he's that dumb, because I think anyone could have told you that, okay, you implement tariffs, like the markets are going to throw a tantrum and absolutely crater. I think anyone could have told you that. I find it hard to believe that him and all the people around him are that dumb, that there's not some plan behind this. And my guess is that this comes out as a positive. And all this fear and stuff and Bitcoin and the stock market goes higher, Bitcoin goes higher, and it actually ends up being a positive in the long run. But I just find it hard to believe that there's not some plan. I don't think that, especially Trump, who's a big real estate guy and just a money guy, would just crater markets and cause a recession on purpose. I just find that very, very hard to believe. But I'm not going to talk about that too much. It is what it is. I do think there's a plan behind it, and all this stuff will end up higher, and it'll be positive. Yo, Vatican. What up, my man? Thanks for the vids. Thank you, Vatican. Appreciate it, man. Good to see you. Like I said, we're going to be doing 1 to 2 live streams a week. If things really start to go insane, dude, I'll be doing a video and a live stream every day. But, which I do think is going to happen. I do think this market's going to get pretty insane pretty quickly. We could have days or weeks where we kind of consolidate. Next week would make sense if it's a consolidation week. But, you know, you guys know how crypto is. It can go to 0 to 100 real quick. And it's usually when no one expects it. And just, I know, just like 1 or 2 weeks ago, no one expected it because everyone was talking about the tariff stuff. But it can go 0 to 100 real quick. Like the Drake song. You know, like the Drake song? Is that Drake? I think that's Drake. Yeah, it's Drake. I had to do a double take. Fahid, what's up? Just do Saturday morning live? I kind of like the Saturday morning live, man. I got my coffee. I'm chilling. It's good vibes because it's Saturday. I like the Saturday morning lives. I'll probably end up picking one day just to do lives. The problem is sometimes on Saturday mornings I'm like busy, so. But maybe if I can just do Saturday morning lives, that would be kind of nice. That would be real nice. What's up, Grant? It's almost that time, fellas. It is almost that time. Now, Saturday morning is rough for us U.S. West Coast folks. Yeah, my guess is I'll probably going to end up doing like Monday night lives. I think that's probably the best idea. Is kind of, if I'm going to pick one day to do one guaranteed, like a guaranteed live, I think Monday nights are probably the best one because you know, start of the week. Probably going to get the biggest moves on Mondays. But who knows? Liquidity as main problem. Fed will print $7 trillion. Well, other central banks have already been printing. Not necessarily printing, but either printing or injecting liquidity in the markets. The Fed hasn't even done it yet. This move up on global liquidity is without even the Fed injecting. So imagine if the Fed starts injecting. Obviously, that's not guaranteed they will. But we do have inflation back down to 2.5% and going down. And a lot of people have talked about these tariffs in the short term causing inflation to go up. I'm not convinced of that. I think a lot of people are fearful right now and afraid of spending money, which will cause inflation to go even lower. So, I don't know. I just think we have the perfect storm here for a rally. Fear levels, inflation back down to 2.5. The rest of the world injecting already. I just think we got the perfect storm here, man. We just got to see it play out now. We just got to see it play out. May 7th Fed meeting. Yeah. I doubt they start just printing money in the next month or two, though. I highly doubt that. So if you think they're just going to come out and start printing money in the next 2 months, I highly doubt that. But any rumor that they will either start cutting rates again or, doing QE, markets will continue to rally. All right, guys. It's 10:52. I'm calling it. Let's see if Shedeur Sanders gets drafted today. Pats, fantastic draft so far. Love the Pats draft. If you've been watching the NFL draft. Celtics lost last night. They always got to throw in the sports stuff. But anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next live. It was great to see you guys. My guess is next week I'll probably choose a day where we'll start doing lives guaranteed. Guaranteed at least one night a week. And we'll probably choose a day next week to do that going forward. But I'll see you guys on the next live, and I'll see you guys in the videos. I see your guys' comments in the videos. Appreciate those. And once again, we'll see if this plays out, guys. All right? It's not going to go straight up, but I do think this move has started, and I think we got some fun times here in the crypto market over the next, I don't know. I'm not going to put a time frame on it, but I do think we got some fun times in the crypto market coming before not fun times. But let's focus on the fun times first. All right? Peace out. Much love. It's been your boy, Jordan Cameron. See you guys in the next video. Enjoy your weekend. Peace.